Hello vinyl community, this is my first video I'm trying. I am Graham, the vinyl geriatric from Australia. I thought I'd start off with my first video with doing the 2023 vinyl tag that Rob set up. So without any hesitation, let's just get straight into it. First question, my favourite release from 2022. This band's been one of my favourites most of my life. I've had pretty well all their albums over and over again. And this year they put out this one. It says, Alan Parsons from the New World. That's my choice for the favourite release of 2022. Last band seen live. I went to a local festival on the beachfront in Adelaide about the middle of last year, and there was quite a selection of bands on. These bands here were the ones that played on the day, so we had get these out. First of all, we had John Stevens. John Stevens used to sing for a band called Noiseworks. He also spent a bit of time with In Excess and Dead Daisy's first album he sang on. Then there was Mondo Rock. Mondo Rock have been around since the 80s. Lead singer was in a band called, they used to sing Eagle Rock Daddy Cool. So they were a big band in Australia back in the 60s. Jimmy Barnes, quite a few of you would probably know Jimmy Barnes. He was lead singer of Cold Chisel, and then he went on to have a great career by himself. I think he's had somewhere around 10 #1 albums in Australia. So, yeah, Jimmy Barnes. Johnny Diesel. Johnny Diesel plays guitar for most albums on Jimmy Barnes, or most concerts. He's actually Jimmy Barnes' brother-in-law. Great blues guitarist, I think originally from America. And 1927, they reformed. They had a couple of good albums in the 80s. Yeah, it was a really good show. Nice hot summer's day, plenty of beer, and yeah, good concert. The first album was their best. I picked this one. I love this album. I love this band. But start to finish, I can listen to this album over and over. That's Toto, their first album. It's got songs on it like I'll Supply the Love, Georgie Porgy, Manuela Run, Hold the Line. Brilliant album. Now, a hat trick, that's cassette, CD and LP of the one band. I chose AC/DC. I've got Highway to Hell on cassette, CD, and album. Fantastic album. It'd be Bon Scott's last album before he died and before the massive Back in Black. To me, just as good an album as Back in Black. An album that starts and ends with the same letter. I've chosen ABC's Beauty Stab. I must admit I may have only listened to this once. I don't really remember. But I don't even particularly know any of the songs on it. Next was an artist born in the same year as myself, and that would be Vivian Campbell of Def Leppard. So he was born in the same year as me. Also played guitar with Ronnie James Dio. So, yep. Now, the Australian artist I've listened the most to this year would probably be In Excess. So that's In Excess, The Swing. I've got most of their albums. Great Australian group. Unfortunately, Michael Hutchins passed away and they didn't do much after that. Most listened to album of 2022 that would have to be Let It Be. I've also got the box set of this. Great album, great box set. I've only just started getting into the Beatles, never really listened to them or the Stones when I was young, but really appreciating them now. Most listened to artist in 2022. That would probably be Rainbow. I love this band. Their first 3 albums are brilliant, but with Ronnie James Dio. But I still love Down to Earth with Graham Bonnet. Great album. And a band I have the complete collection of. I've got many, but I chose the Eagles. So I have the first album, Desperado, On the Border, One of These Nights, Hotel California, The Long Run, Hell Freezes Over, and The Long Road Out of Eden. Do love the Eagles. Saw them live once. They had Melissa Etheridge backing them up. It was a great night. A run of 3 albums. I've chosen Queen, and I've chosen Night at the Opera, Day at the Races, and News of the World, my personal favourite Queen album. I have the box set to it as well. Just love this album. It's the first Queen album I ever bought. Fantastic. An 80s soundtrack. I chose Blade Runner. Great atmospheric music by Vangelis. Great album. Artist we lost this year. I chose Gary Brooker of Procol Harum. Good band, White of Shade of Pale. You don't get a better song than that. Fantastic. My biggest disappointment buying 2022. This one, it's not for the album. I love The Wall. I have another copy of it, an original. It's because of this. As you can see, well maybe not, but it has a huge warp in it on both records. So they are really warped. So unplayable. So that was really disappointing. I still have the original. Probably sounds better than that one anyway, but it wasn't a cheap album, and yeah, it wasn't a good experience. Something that I bought this year that wasn't vinyl, I bought myself a pair of Denon headphones. Wooden headphones. They were quite an expensive studio pair. Beautiful, beautiful sound to them. Fantastic. I really like them. Yeah, I don't listen to a lot of music on headphones, but when I do, they're beautiful. My Grail of 2022 is actually the Led Zeppelin 4 box set. I collect these albums. This is the 6th one I've got, but this is the one I really wanted, so I was really happy to get that. A space-themed cover. Now this one's Tomita. It's called Spacewalk. Yet again, atmospheric music, Tomita. They have quite a, well, from what I gather, over 60 albums, so quite a range. I think I've got about a dozen myself, but yes, really good, nice music. A present from 2022, not actually a present as such, but I was given a voucher from my father for Christmas, and I bought the Creatures of the Night Half Speed album with it. So yeah, that was great. That was a great present. I've really enjoyed that, being a huge Kiss fan. Next, released in 1973, and that would be Sabbath Bloody Sabbath by Black Sabbath. The story behind this album when I bought it was my brother died and he had a lot of albums. I used to listen to them as a young lad and, you know, sneak them into my bedroom and listen to them. And when he died, I made it my mission to try and buy every album I remember he owned. And this was the last one that I found of the albums that I remember he owned. So, yeah, that's got a special place for me, that album. And probably the surprise buy of the year was, and this is the final one, probably not in the right order, but oh well, was the Almost Famous soundtrack box, because I never expected to be able to afford this. It was going for about $280 Australian, and I wasn't going to pay that. But for some reason or other, Amazon had a sale, and it went down to 180, and my wife gave me a voucher for $200, so I bought this with it. So yes, that's my surprise buy. I never thought I'd be able to get it. I love the music on here by Stillwater, and of course you've got Led Zeppelin, David Bowie, and so on and so on. Brilliant box set. Well, I'll wrap it up here. That's my first video ever. I hope I've done a pretty good job. If not, well, you know, I'll try again. Thank you all very much for looking in.